I've seen this throughout my career. And the smarter people that you deal with who are less regulatory focused, the more you see this with. Smart people, very smart, that are particularly maybe technical or in non-legal ways, they'll look at a regulation and they'll interpret it according to their own understanding of what the words mean, without recognizing that in regulation, everything's a term of art. And it's not just simply saying, like, I solicited clients means that I didn't like call them up and say, be a client of mine, for example.
Right.
And so they'll take sort of a plain language, but highly intelligent rationalization that they're complying with it. And they fail to grasp the larger significance of the body and the precedent that underlies it. People can get very myopic. Nobody's like juiced about like complying with regulation, unless they think that there's clients on the other end of it who are going to value it, right? One of the challenges that I think some startups have is they believe what they want to believe, and they get blindsided and they don't focus on the compliant aspects early enough. I see it a lot, oftentimes when I talk to potential clients who kind of like tell me the bounds of how they want to engage me. And it doesn't include necessarily actions that are, that are legit. In 2017, I had people explaining to me why their ICO was not a security. And I'm like, guys, what you're saying doesn't even line up with the law. And I started doing something very funny with these clients. They'd say the Howey test, and they'd give their own interpretation of the Howey test. And I said, I actually use a different test these days. Clients would say, well, what's that test? And I said, I use the duck test. And they're like, the duck test? And I'm like, well, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Yeah,
I never got any clients where I use that line.
Yeah. No, you don't want to go, you don't want to connect those two dots, right? Having the regulators come in and say, you're quacking like a duck, you're walking like a duck, you look like a duck, and we think you're a duck, even if the regulators are wrong, right? You're still going to have a very difficult time as a new business managing that risk. Innovators having their brain, the world that they believe has to exist, right? Is that simple, right? Logically, this has to be the way. And logic does not necessarily relate to law.
I think the secret amulet when you're talking to a technical person who doesn't get the law or is insistent on their own interpretation, and I found this has been the magic wand. I simply say, you're thinking very logically, but the law isn't necessarily logical.